welcome again to TableTakes by Gen Con here in Caldea Studios. I am here with Derek and Emma, and guess what? We got some breaking news. Is that enough?
That's great.
Close enough. Close enough.
I love it.
Well, guess what? If you were looking forward to Emerald City Comic Con this week, it has been postponed.
Dun, dun, dun.
If you guys haven't been keeping up with the very publicized news lately about the COVID-19, or also known as coronavirus, there has been a lot of effects that this has taken place, just like in the gaming industry in general. Just to go ahead and give a few briefness, because this did affect China first. A lot of manufacturing that was done for board games and such. Even though people were prepared for the Lunar New Year to slow things down, production-wise, just like keep in mind, they've been kind of shut down for a month, and slowly companies are opening back up. So
I know of at least like one or two games that were planning for a specific time to release.
Yes.
That have now had to significantly revise those, as the production is just not going to happen in time.
Yes, and Emma, as a game designer, you know, like sometimes you have to just be aware timetables can change, right?
Yeah. I mean, to add on, like you said, with the Lunar New Year, it's a big thing in the industry. Everyone plans around that, but having this extra month or 2 months tacked onto that and a slow ramp up again, you know, people are still dealing with the fallout effects. So we're patient here, but I think it's just important to realize that things change. And also with the conventions, like Emerald City Comic Con being postponed, a lot of companies built up things around releasing games at particular conventions. And safe to say that most plans are just shot at this point.
Well, there's a number of conventions that have been canceled outright.
Yes.
Most of those being like professional or video game or developer conferences, like GDC was canceled.
Yes.
I think Adobe canceled a show. A lot of those companies, I believe, are trying to figure out how to transfer a lot of that content, a lot of the educational opportunities online.
Yes.
So it'll be really interesting to see how some of those succeed at that. But it's definitely having a trickle-down effect kind of across the board at this point.
It's funny, though, because a lot of these conventions put a lot of weight on their educational content, but really what we go there for is for the networking, for the face-to-face, for the business deals. So
And that's why the virus goes there, too, for the networking.
For the networking.
Oh, shame. But yeah, just be aware that, keep in mind any plans for conventions that you have made during this year, just keep an eye out. Look, there's websites that post up to date of which conventions have been canceled. Make sure that you get insurance on your plane tickets and such if you are traveling. It's always good, to, most importantly, stay calm, stay informed, and wash your hands, folks.
I think the rules are what? Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Don't touch your face.
Don't touch your face.
If you feel sick, don't go to where people are.
Yeah. Just in general. Which are good life tips.
Just like in general, even after this happens, can we just still wash our hands?
Wash your hands.
And not really touch your face too much. And then also, if you're sick, don't spread it.
The whole touch in the face thing, the reason I have the beard is to play with it. So there's only so much I can help you with on that front.
One last point on this. A lot of smaller creators in particular are really suffering from this, from conventions, because they're usually the ones who don't have refundable plane tickets, who don't have refundable hotels.
Or that convention appearance was such a huge part of their livelihood that losing that revenue is going to have a huge impact. So I know that a number of, for GDC, for example, I think a number of indie video game developers have started setting up funds to recoup some of the sunk costs into the convention that they just couldn't go to and will get no benefit out of.
Yeah. And for students, for example, who are traveling there on scholarship and really have no funds able to support themselves. So this is a great point. In order to support people in the industry, there are some things you can do. It is nice to have actions that you can take. So you can look into some of these funds to support creators, and also just buy the stuff. If you were going to go to a show, a lot of these places, a lot of the smaller studios have Etsy stores or online game stores, or buy their stuff on Amazon. You can help for taking some of that money you would have spent at the shows and still buying their stuff.
Okay. But yeah, like I said, in general, just wash your hands, guys. That's a good solid life rule. Wash your hands. Chat was saying, wash your hands even if you cut peppers and try to put your contacts in. Because, you got to wash your hands before you do that.
Chat seems to have a very specific scenario in mind.
Yes.
Let's just say wash your hands in general.
Just in general. But yes, speaking of which, not related to this at all, just trying to do a weird segue. Hey! Success maybe? I don't know. Emma, you have some news about things breaking off from various Asmodee, I believe. Oh, wait, no, wrong one.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
You did great.
Yes, thank you.
So it's been announced that Plaid Hat Games has had a change of ownership back to the original founder, which is interesting, fascinating, one might say, because Plaid Hat Games had been purchased by Asmodee Games, which owns many publishers and board game companies. It's this giant umbrella under which a chunk of our industry interacts.
It was interesting to read the owner's kind of story about that, about how he had founded the company and then he had kind of merged or been purchased by another company, and then that company in turn was purchased by Asmodee. So it was a process, kind of, I think, of going away from what he'd originally kind of intended.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that he has the opportunity to reset a little bit and kind of come back to what originally excited him about being in the game industry.
Yeah, and that's what happens to a lot of companies. You're an individual or just a couple of people, you're very successful, you're almost too successful, and be able to support that on your own. You're like, hey, I really like this company, we have a lot in common, we can work with them. And you do that, and then a year or two later, it gets merged and bloated to the point where it wasn't exactly what you intended it to be. So that's Colby Dauch, I'm going to say, has reacquired Plaid Hat Games. In this transition, there's been a little bit of a shakeout. So Isaac Vega, who's a very well-known designer for the company, designed Dead of Winter and Ashes, Rise of the Phoenix, is leaving and won't be part of this new Plaid Hat Games, and is probably going to go off and do some amazing, fantastic things. So it'll be very interesting to see what's coming out of all those individual people.
Yep.
Within this transition, it wasn't exactly a clean reacquisition. So there are some games that will be retained by Asmodee for publication. I think there's some crossover there as well. So it's some Asmodee will still distribute. So there's still quite a lot of entanglement between the two.
They still have a close
companies.
relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a bad break. It's just hey, let's go ahead and let you have a little bit more creative freedom.
Yeah.
And then we'll still help you out.
It's also very interesting for the connection to this brand. I wonder if it's the brand itself or some particular games that Colby was interested in getting back. Because, people, you just start a new company if you want to get back into the industry, but something about Plaid Hat in particular was compelling enough to bring back into the fold. Yeah, that's it for Plaid Hat Games.
Ooh, exciting news. Oh, speaking of it, last week, remember how we talked about Tales from the Loop getting a TV series?
I do.
Oh, yes.
I wasn't there. I missed that.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah.
Because news to me.
You were highlighting it out at PAX East, weren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, so you missed an episode of TableTakes? Did you know that you could go review the video on demand on Twitch and YouTube?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great idea.
Isn't
I should
it?
do that after the show so I catch up on
Absolutely.
all the news.
Good choice.
It's a good thing we have all of this on camera. But yes, Tales from the Loop is now getting a starter box set that will include an illustrated rule book explaining how to play the game, a complete mystery called The Recycle Boy, and 5 pre-gen characters for you to play. So if you wanted to go ahead and watch the TV series and do not know about Tales from the Loop, this would be something that I would suggest getting. We do not have too many details about this, but if you want to go ahead and look it up for yourself, there is a lot of Tales from the Loop art that you can look at. But yeah, they also totally forgot, they get 10 custom engraved dice.
So it seems like this is a good thing to grab if you haven't gotten into Tales from the Loop yet, obviously.
Yes.
That's the point of a starter set.
Yeah.
It's a little unclear whether the rulebook in here is the same rulebook that's already out, or if it's been rewritten, reformatted, or anything like that to make it more accessible.
Yeah.
It's not like Tales from the Loop was not a particularly complicated game to begin with, but I don't know what they've done with it to make it more startery. Basically.
Yeah, well, I've been really impressed with what they've done starter sets, the D&D starter set that they released recently, because from the perspective of, hey, having just a big old chunky book is great if you know what RPGs are, but if you've never done them before, if your kids are getting into it and you're a parent trying to teach it, or your friend group has never done role-playing games before, these are usually very accessible ways to get into a new game or just role-playing games in general.
It's a perfect time for it to come out with the Amazon series.
The Amazon series. So just look forward to looking that up if you are interested in the story and the lore at all before you watch the TV series. On other news, did you know that there's a thing called Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons?
I did.
And ne'er the two shall meet, right?
Yes, and yet, but
or
Emma,
should they?
Should they? Emma, do you have any news about them merging?
Friend power.
Friend power.
So there's a new D&D setting book based in the Theros setting. So this is a world that was recently unearthed, or a plane that was recently unearthed for the Theros Beyond Death, because it's underworld.
It's underworld, unearthed, yeah. And also some of this stuff was in Unearthed Lacana.
Yeah, so they recently released a set there. People really love this plane and are very excited to go back to it. A lot of the art, the new art for the cards is amazing. And so as part of this building up the brand, they've released the D&D setting. This is only the second one they've done, at least in recent times, with the other recent one being the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, I believe. And it's very interesting looking at the history of Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering, and how historically for a long time there was a lot of tension between merging them together, because there's so much amazing world building in Magic the Gathering. It seemed kind of weird. It's like, I want to hang out with Chandra, you know, make fun of Jace. There's so much.
Who doesn't?
There's so much fun, interesting content there. Huh, Liliana, Chandra,
Sure. Yeah, I'll hang out with Liliana. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Risen Army of the Dead is cool.
Yeah.
That's
Sign
cool.
up for that.
Who doesn't want to?
So, in case you don't know too much about the Theros setting, it's very Greek. So it's
Very
based
Greek.
around Greek mythology,
I think
around
the
the gods.
cover they've previewed is this really cool, like, Hydra with like a star effect on it, and
Yeah.
like a classic, hero going and stabbing at it.
Yeah. Oh, just again the art. If they're going to take in a lot of this Theros Beyond Death art with the constellations and the stars and the enchantments and all the effects they have, and it's just been absolutely amazing. I'd love to see just more of the art, which I imagine they're going to be putting throughout this book. Another exciting thing about this is that it's taking some of the new subclasses that were in the Unearthed Arcana. So we had talked about some of these subclasses, and turns out this is where they're going to end up. So specifically the Bard's College of Eloquence subclass, Masters of Oratory, and the Paladin's Oath of Glory, which we had talked before about, are they going to make a new book? Like, what are they going to do with these classes? And I love this idea of just having a setting where they perfectly fit in, and you can get the new setting, and get the new classes as well. So more reasons
One
to check
might
this
think
out.
that WotC knew this book was coming when
Yeah.
they were releasing the
I
Plaid Hat
know,
material.
right?
What? Did they?
And they tested them.
They tested it
Found
out.
out people liked them.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We'll
Maybe.
see.
Who
We'll see if we
knows?
can get an official comment from WotC on that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of like a note that maybe you should start trying to look at the Unearthed Arcana, because apparently now they're not doing a player's handbook 2, as I always been hinting at, but no.
You can still keep that dream alive.
I
if
can
you'd
still
like.
keep that dream. Yes.
I'm not going to take the dream from you.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep saying no.
But yes. But you could go ahead and look at what they have posted on Earth Arcana, and then maybe go, ooh, maybe this is like sneak preview of what's going to be.
Wait, are you giving the internet permission to rampantly and wildly speculate about something they're not particularly well informed on?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Let's do it.
Wow.
Who would do such a thing?
Well, you've released such horrible power across the internet.
Of course.
Yeah,
all
so
of it.
if you love Theros and you love D&D, this is pretty much a slam dunk. I think it's going to be great content, and you should definitely check it out.
I'm just excited about it because I like D&D, but I like weird, different things from Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
So anytime that Wizards is willing to take a step away from that,
Yeah.
especially when they can leverage the incredible art they have for Magic, I'm all on board.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of new exciting things also coming out, this is just like new exciting Friday.
Yeah.
Derek, you have some news about the spice.
Yeah, well, so 1, it must flow. 2, it expands consciousness. 3, it extends life.
Okay.
Just to get that out of the way.
Okay.
All right.
So, some details for the Dune RPG have been
Yes.
announced.
Yep.
So this is the licensed RPG coming from Modiphius, who is definitely the powerhouse for licensed RPGs lately, licensed products in general.
Hell yeah.
So they've released some initial details, most notably a list of authors who contributed to the core book, which had quite a few surprises and a nice kind of diverse collection of people they seem to be pulling from.
Yeah.
So this isn't just a licensed RPG being kind of produced by like one small core team.
Yeah.
They seem to have tapped a lot of different people to get a lot of different perspectives, which is just going to be great.
Yeah.
So some
excited.
of the notable people include Khaldun Khalil, who is an Arab American of Palestinian descent who has been producing a number of RPG works over the time, or over a period. Apparently, they've been working on Vampire for now, I guess, 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
It's one of those things where
1999. It's like,
yeah, you check the date and you're like, oof.
Wow.
Yeah. Chris Spivey, I believe.
Spivey, yeah.
Is how you pronounce his name. He came to a prominence with Harlem Unbound, which was the Harlem black kind of experience with Lovecraft in the 1920s. That was on Kickstarter. Got a lot of awards. Really fantastic looking book. I think he also recently kickstarted a Wild West RPG about the black experience, like black cowboys and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, he is certainly a darling now. We also have Adam Koebel of Dungeon World fame, who is also a huge Dune fan. And then Banana Chan, who you've had some experience
Dads on Mowers, Terrors Below. Dads on Mowers is a fantastic kids on bikes mod, I believe, or
it's one of those
something
things where you're like, Dads on Mowers, and you're like, what? And then you're like, oh, it's kids on bikes.
Kids on bikes.
Okay, yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, and then just the dads on the mowers going around, weird stuff happens, there's romance, and absolutely fabulous. So and more, like so many more people that we don't even have time
This
to
is just
cover.
like skimming the top of the list of people that we happen to directly recognize.
Yes.
So very excited to see what that looks like when it comes out. It's going to be using the 2D20 system. This is what Modiphius has been using for Star Trek Adventures, probably most notably, but also Mutant Chronicles, Infinity, Conan, John Carter of Mars. I believe it's the same one that they're planning on using for Dishonored when that comes out. I think the Fallout RPG is also using it too. Not positive though. So in the Dune RPG, they've given a little bit more details about what you're going to do, and it seems like they're taking kind of the expected route, that you are going to be one of the major houses in the Landsrod, who is kind of like the Galactic House of Representatives Senate kind of thing. Lots more intrigue and backstabbing than I guess we have in the real world, probably. So it sounds like they're going to do the usual thing of you could be part of one of the known houses. You can make your own house. That's a similar approach to what Last Unicorn took for their Dune game back in the day. And it's always very fun. I really like giving players power and putting them in a position of power and then seeing what they do with it.
I thought you were going to say, and then taking it away.
I was going to say taking it away. I was ready for you to go like that, but no. I abuse it. That's how you...
Well, good. Let's play a game of Vampire together.
Yay!
So I'm very excited to see what that's going to look like. Apparently it is releasing this holiday season. They're planning on supporting it through 2021. And they are hinting that a beta test of some kind will be starting soon. So you should go to the website and sign up. I'm very excited.
All the excitement. But we also have one excitement that we've been hinting at. Chat has been wanting to hear more details about for quite some time. Emma, okie dokie, do you have something to show us?
Do I have something to show?
Do you?
Oh, I guess not. So
no,
let's
no,
move
no,
on
I
to
have something to show.
No, you sure? You sure? You got something?
Yeah.
What is it? Ta-da! It's Abandoned All Artichokes. Emma, tell us about this wonderful game here.
This is a game. This is a game that I designed and recently shown at Toy Fair and PAX East. Not currently available for purchase, but it should be available soon. So in this game, it's a deck destructor or a deck wrecker where you start with all artichokes and you're trying to draw a hand of no artichokes. So you compost your artichokes, get it compost because they're vegetables, and get non-artichokes into the deck over time. You're cycling through, doing powers, stealing stuff from people. It's all very chaotic and interactive. Fun game, 2 to 4 players, 10 plus, very fast. You can play it in like 15 minutes. So very excited. It's coming from Game Right. It was listed on...
Are we allowed to see the cards, or is this like a sealed...
No, you can open it up.
This is a legacy game. We're not allowed to open it until we sit down to play.
Haha!
Show the faces.
The faces are the
The
best.
faces are adorable.
They are. Let's get rid of all these artichokes. We don't
all the
need
artichokes, they have different adorable faces. And then the other vegetable power cards, which are equally adorable.
They're so cute. When is the stuffed animals coming out, Emma?
That is all up to GameRight. It depends on how many people buy copies. If enough people, it becomes popular enough, then we can make all sorts of swag for the game.
Yes.
So it was listed on Forbes as a hot new game, which is crazy and bizarre, and I'm excited. If you want to get the game, your best options are to talk to your local game store, where many local game stores will take requests. So it's a great way.
Not a grocery store or anything like that?
The grocery stores,
No?
Yeah, thrift store, just anywhere.
Just ask for this everywhere.
Farmer's market, anywhere fine vegetables are sold. It's great to support your local game store and put in a pre-order, because that will help them. You can give them your money and also let them know how many copies of a thing to buy, which is super handy for small local game stores. You can also pre-order on Amazon. Even if you go the local game store route, you should check out Amazon, because there's an adorable video where they have little voices and they do a little dance.
It is. It's very cute.
Yeah. Or I believe the next show that they're going to be selling copies at will be Gen Con.
Gen Con.
So if you do want to wait or hang out and see me at Gen Con and look at the game and play the game and hear more about it,
I think they should buy it now,
Buy
bring
it
it to
now.
Gen Con,
Gen
have
Con.
you sign it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Ooh.
Best of all worlds.
Best of all worlds. You got to bring a pen around and just be able to sign everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's my game, the Banal Artichokes.
Yes, but thank you for showing that off. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot.
I don't think you forgot.
I think
I think she forgot.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot that we have other people in this studio right now. Did you guys know that?
Well, chat did, because apparently someone's fingers keep creeping in the screen. Somehow chat figured
They've
it
been
out.
watching us the whole time.
They've been here the whole time, guys. Didn't even know. Wow, they teleported in. Privateer Press. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
I was throwing out secret signals.
Secret
It wasn't
Secret.
my fingers, as far as I know.
Emma, I have a question real quick.
Oh, yeah,
For
sure.
your new game.
Yeah.
Do you hate artichokes?
No, okay. So,
I mean,
real quick.
They deserve to be hated.
I made a list of alliterative game names like Big Bouncy Balls or whatever. You know, just a bunch of.
Big bouncy fox balls?
Yeah.
What?
Or like 5 feisty foxes. And I posted this on Twitter and people are like, oh, I want to buy the Artichokes game, Banal Artichokes. I'm like, it's not a game yet. It's just a funny name. They're like, no, it's great. You should make a game from them.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah. No, I love
The
Artichokes.
internet
So
is
you're
to
giving us the
blame.
secrets of game design.
Oh, yeah.
is-
Name first design
Yes.
is one
Name
of the best.
first.
I just didn't know if like tear down the tomatoes or anything like that had come up, and you were just like, I just hate artichokes so much. I'm going to make a game about
Yeah,
it.
well, that's the thing. Now we can make a whole series. Like
You-
every
yeah.
letter of the alphabet.
Banish
of,
the bananas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Vanish the banana.
Xerox, the
Xylonies.
Xylones.
Yeah, chat. We
Great,
need an
okay.
X vegetable.
What's an X vegetable? Yes.
Vegetables? There must be one.
Well, a
out there.
tomato's an X vegetable because it's actually a fruit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So these are all vegetables, but there is a bell pepper in there, and an artichoke's technically a flower. So I'm just waiting for the hate mail to stream in.
Well, you could do kits and kiwis, and you could put birds and New Zealanders in there.
Wow.
I love that.
I like
Wait,
that.
write these games down.
Yeah,
There you
we're
go.
We're not going to talk about anything
Yeah,
we're doing. We're just going to brainstorm
That's what we're here
games
for.
the whole
I'll
time.
just watch the
here.
replay on YouTube.
Pitch concept.
Crush the cantaloupes. That's what chat's saying.
Yeah. Crush all cantaloupes.
Oh, but yes. Who are you? Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm Will Hungerford. I'm the lead developer at Privateer Press, and this is my boss, Oz, William Schoonover. He's the development manager.
That's how we do our intros every time.
Every
is my
time
boss.
on our weekly stream, we do the same
We
thing.
stream a lot, so yeah, we're used to this.
Yeah.
He always introduces me. I never say my own name.
Yes.
So that's what you get for being the boss.
Well, yeah.
And I also
you're
give you
the
different
boss.
titles.
Yeah, sure.
His title is development manager, but it's been
Yeah.
like Big Papa Oz and
all kinds of things.
My Master and
I
whatever
don't
I'm
know.
throwing out, whatever I throw out there.
Master.
We lean away from those. kind of
Yes.
things.
But yeah, no, we're here because we just kickstarted a brand new game, and
A few days ago.
we were on our stream. The Kickstarter went live while we were streaming. I think 20 minutes in,
About 10:20. Yeah.
Oh,
and then
okay.
we funded 23 minutes later on stream. So like we
Yeah.
went live
Yeah.
during stream and then funded
Wow.
during stream, and that was amazing. That was
Yeah,
so
and
awesome.
now we're
So much hype.
now we're 2-time funded and getting close to 275.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're close to $275.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were 250 when we were taking notes last night.
Yeah.
so.
yeah,
Yeah,
So,
so-
it's going very well.
Suffice to say, people are very excited about this project.
Which
Tell
is-
us more about
More,
what people
yeah.
are excited about.
So it's a game called Warcaster. And if you are familiar at all with War Machine and Hordes, the core game that kind of made the company well known, there are Warcasters in that game. They are a piece you play with. They're like your king in chess, and they're the strongest, most powerful piece on the board. In this game, it's technically connected narratively because this is 5,000 years later in a sci-fi future for these same people. But you're the Warcaster now. There's no piece on the table that is the Warcaster. The player is the Warcaster, controlling all of the various things.
You're plugged into a ship looking down on the battlefield, kind of like a god in the sky, moving the pieces around.
Yeah.
But
Like magical robo-drones.
But it's actual people, and there are warjacks in it.
Cyborgs.
But one of the first things a lot of people will catch that don't know about it is it's our first sci-fi war game. We've never done a sci-fi war game, and it's not a board game like Riot Quest or Monster Apocalypse was. It's going to be a traditional build your own terrain, hobby miniatures war game. But it plays very differently than War Machine and Hordes. It's not just space War Machine and Hordes.
Yeah, a lot of people have said, so is this sci-fi War Machine or Hordes?
Yeah.
But we wanted to make a different game for different people. I mean, the same kind of people might be interested in it that love War Machine and Hordes, but we wanted to branch out. And this game has a lot of new concepts and strange things that we've never tried before.
Yeah.
And it plays completely differently, but it's very narratively connected. Like the robots are still called Warjacks. The player's called the Warcaster. There's those kind of things in the game.
Yeah.
Gameplay-wise, a lot of the stuff we've done differently is, first off, when you build an army, there's no points anymore. You just pick so many units, and that's because in this game you don't start. Well, you don't put all your models on one side. My opponent puts all their models on one side, and we kind of meet each other. The idea is that you and your ship are capable of teleporting your troops out of your ship onto the battlefield. So throughout the game, it's almost like a real-time strategy computer game. You put down gates, and you summon your units out of gates on the battlefield as the game goes, and you can only put gates in your soldiers that are already on the battlefield. So you're constantly going back and forth, and you end up playing across the entire table where you're having this like tug of war of soldiers showing up and then being killed, and when they die, they go back to the ship and can be resummoned later. So you can never lose by being tabled. It's impossible to lose all your models.
That sounds a lot like the other kind of arena game that you had.
Yeah,
Riot
for
Quest.
Riot Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been exploring that concept of having a reserve of infinite models that get put on the table. Monster Apocalypse, when it launched in 2008, had that idea in it. And this is kind of a natural evolution of that. The other thing that we're doing for the very first time in almost any of our games is much more customization than we've ever done before. Like, this is one of our Warjacks. This was painted on the Get Your Paint On live stream a couple of Thursdays ago. So this is a Dusk Wolf, which is the Marcher World's Warjack. It comes in the starter box. And it's got 2 arm hardpoints and a shoulder hardpoint.
Yeah.
And it comes with 2 shoulder options and 3 arm options.
Oh, wow.
So you can build this Warjack in a couple of different ways. And then the Kickstarter has additional stretch goals for more weapons and that kind of stuff.
So you're saying that when I get into this, after building my units, I'm going to have a pile of arms that I can like amalgam into some sort of weird
Or
monster too?
Possibly.
We think a lot of people will magnetize.
Yeah.
For swapping.
Magnetized,
Yeah.
People that are used to War Machine are used to, this is a Juggernaut, this is a Destroyer, like this is the way it comes. And in this, it's like, here's a Dusk Wolf, and here's the many permutations of a way you can build a Dusk Wolf in the game.
Yeah, and then you also customize a deck of cards. It's called your rack because that's the big chair you're in that's powering up. If you've seen the Kickstarter, there's a picture of a Warcaster in their control chair.
Gooey.
And there are 24 cards in the starter boxes, and you play with 15 of those. There's 4 types of cards. You have to take 3 of each type, and then you have some other customization options for which kind of cards you want to put some more in.
They're your spells, basically.
Yeah, and they're basically spells.
Yeah.
So you have Weavers on the board that are kind of space wizards. And there are Fury cards that are attack spells like fireballs and ice bolts and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they come out of your Weavers because they're connected to you and they're channeling your power. And then there are cards that affect your Warjacks and cards that affect your squads, and then cards that can affect anything that is written on them. So you might have cards that remove activation tokens because this is also an alternating activation game. It's not a move all your models and then move all your
That was
models.
one of my questions.
Yeah.
And so things get activation tokens as you go, and there are rounds, kind of, but we're tracking them in a weird way. They're not just once you've activated all your models, the round is over, because you can keep summoning things, so you might not ever activate all your models. So there's a pulse tracker that tracks the number of player turns, and so many player turns is a round, and then you take all the activation tokens off and that kind of stuff.
Which goes to a big point. People that are used to War Machine, and I think a lot of people know from that, is that game ends whenever you kill the caster, right?
Yeah.
You can't kill the Warcaster in this game.
Yeah, that is the player.
The inner spaceship.
Don't shoot the person across the table from you. You can't be tabled in this game. There's no attrition. Well, there's attrition, but not in the traditional sense of I've killed all your models.
Yeah.
So this game is purely narratively scenario driven. You pick your scenario. They all have different win conditions and different setups, and they might be I'm trying to go collect this thing from you. We'll have asymmetrical scenarios in the future when we do different stuff. So you always are playing to scenario. There's never a point in the game where you go, you've killed all my guys, I'm out.
So scenario-based play is hugely appealing to me. Because whenever I played online shooters like Halo or something like that, the multiplayer matches that I enjoyed the most were the ones that had objectives, that had things that you won not by killing. Killing was a way that would help you to victory, but it wasn't the victory in and of itself. Okay. So when you talk about the scenario play, is it more than you're trying to capture the objective and you're trying to prevent them? Like, how detailed do they get in terms of what the objectives will be?
So we've got a few previewed. We put the rules up in a very preview, not quite completely finished version.
Warning, not final.
And there are a few scenarios in there to give people a base idea of some of the kinds of scenarios we're going to do. And one of them is asymmetrical and involves moving things around the board, grabbing ore and taking it to refiners. And then some of them there are fonts of power, because instead of focus, which you might be familiar with as the tokens that power up things in War Machine, this game uses a different resource called Arcanescence, which is ARC for short. And you have a certain number of those tokens that are always in your well, the thing powering your chair, but then you can give them out to people. And they never get spent or go away. They always come back to you when they're used. So it's a rotating cycle, but it's kind of like programming a circuit board to a certain extent. And so fighting over that resource is also narratively what you're doing. So there are fonts of that stuff on planets, and a lot of our scenarios that would be standard grab and objective scenarios involve that kind of stuff. Like there's one with a ring, and 2 of those fonts are more active than other ones every round, and so they score you more points and that kind of stuff. But we're also going to explore much more narrative.
We want to do a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
But for anybody who wanted to see the rules, you can go to the Warcaster.com website, which will also link you to the Kickstarter. And every update we're doing is on that website. And so the rules, the Kickstarter playtest rules, or I guess beta rules is what we're calling them,
basically
are up on the website right now. They're done. They're just not laid out completely. So like all the graphics and stuff aren't there yet.
Go ahead.
Do you have any, can you tell us any of the factions that will be
in? We have some pictures of them too.
I was about to say, we have pictures to go through in order, I think, if we want to.
So the first picture is just the logo for the game. Warcaster Neo-Mechanika is the full name. And that has some tie-ins narratively to the World of the Iron Kingdoms and War Machine and stuff. But Neo-Mechanika just means machines that are powered by magic.
Okay.
And then the game is, of course, called Warcaster, because that's what you are.
Oh, what? Really?
Do we want to do the TLDR of the setting real fast?
Yeah, that'd be great.
We can just kind of get.
So so if you're familiar at all with the Iron Kingdoms as they exist right now, that we've done with the role-playing game and that kind of stuff, bad things have been happening.
Yes.
There was a pact for magic signed years and years and years ago by gods, and they signed that pact with basically demons, which are called Infernals in our setting.
Which happens to be the new faction in War Machine.
And the Infernals showed up as a playable faction in War Machine recently, and they've thrown everything out of whack. Riot Quest, the game we launched last Gen Con, is an alternate version of the history where the Infernals win and everything just gets destroyed, and there's just people scavenging what they can.
But it's a Saturday morning cartoon apocalypse.
It's a Saturday morning cartoon apocalypse. So it's not that dark.
But in the main setting, they make a gate, and a bunch of people escape the world and go out somewhere else. And 5,000 years later, a bunch of humans showed up in a galaxy they've never been to before, out of nowhere, and begin spreading across 1,000 worlds and propagating. And they found this resource called Arcanescence, and what it allowed them to do is they could create Neo-Mechanika, which is science magic, where you could take a gun, and that gun would work by itself, but if you powered it up with Arcanescence, it would shoot farther. It could, shoot things that were invisible. You could put it in your armor, and you would turn invisible. So these giant nations and empires spread across the galaxy, and everything's going great, and at the point that the game is taking place, the Arcanescence, basically the electricity, gasoline, oil of the galaxy, is running out. And so what does everybody do? They fight.
Panic.
It's
Go to war.
It's fight time.
And we've also teased there's a darkness on the edge of the galaxy that that no one understands. So there's also something else going on.
Something that's chasing them.
Yeah, not just all the oil is running out, but also something else is encroaching.
Yeah, I mean, you always got to have something encroaching on the outside.
So just a couple more questions on the connections between War Machine and Warcaster. So is it just humans who escape through the gate?
We haven't said everybody that got through yet,
So
but the only three factions we've shown are humans.
Are humans.
So that also then means that the 3 factions you have shown so far are not the only factions you intend to release?
Boss.
We are not making any promises about the future. So there's 3 factions right now that have been shown off, and there are vague references to a 4th faction. And people keep begging us for information about them, but we're saving information about the way the game's going to expand deeper for later.
Did anything else go through the portal?
We don't
other
know.
than humans.
We don't know.
So that's another interesting thing. We recently launched an experiment of microfiction on Twitter. It's called the Hingehold Scrolls, and a model in the game, which is a character in the game also, that is the Hermit of Hingehold, which is this mad elven prophet. He's been basically telling stories about the Infernal War and how it's been happening, but he's not the most reliable narrator. And he's basically got a Twitter feed of his own, and we put out 150 word microfiction chunks at a time that then over the course of the day or whatever spell out a small chapter in the story of something happening.
So our current narrative is happening every day, and you get to read the stories from people's perspective every day what's happening. And currently, no non-humans have gone through the gate as of today.
And so, that Hingehold Scroll stuff does cover some of this
I was about to say we should give the Twitter,
but
in chat it is now shown up.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you, Chad.
But to answer your, I know we went on a tangent.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Well, yeah.
The factions. So there are 3 factions we've shown, and so the first one we can actually show. We can bring up some artwork on the screen. Is the
let's run through the images that you have prepared just to make sure we hit them all.
Yeah.
So we showed the title, right? So now we can go to the Iron Star Alliance starter cool art image.
Yeah.
Great.
So the Iron Star Alliance are the biggest grouping of empires, nations, and corporations that have all gotten together and created this gigantic galactic alliance to prosper and pool all their resources. To do so, though, they have a lot of very draconian laws and policies that say if you're going to join the alliance, you must do X, Y, and Z at all times, and you can't do A, B, and C.
Okay.
But we will keep you safe. We won't let any bad things happen to you, but you belong to us now. And so the Iron Star Alliance are the closest thing to, they're not fascists. But they're not fascists.
They're very controlling. They're very lawful.
They are the helicopter mother of the galaxy.
Yeah.
They're very much the okay, we're not gonna do things that actively hurt you, and your life will be good. I mean, the citizens of the Iron Star Alliance have a good life, but we micromanage everything to make sure that you have a good life.
And their starter is full of kind of their law enforcement military organization, which are a bunch of paladins. So
that makes sense.
You've got a paladin enforcer squad, which is most of the squads in this game are going to be 3 models. In War Machine, we can get as big as 10, but we're keeping this game a little smaller because you're summoning things and they're leaving the table a lot. So the paladin enforcers are in there, and that's the backbone of that force. Then there's a paladin weaver, which I talked about a little earlier. They're the people who relay your spells, your kind of space wizards. Then there's a paladin commander, which is there to help out the other paladins, and there will be more paladins because we've previewed some on the
Are all of those in the starter set?
Yeah, they're
so all these are, and then the warjack in there is a firebrand,
which is customizable.
Which
like
is
all
customizable.
warjacks.
It's got a big force field and a big like laser sword right now, and then a machine gun, kind of Gatling gun shoulder thing, very sci-fi Gatling gun shoulder. The other thing about the setting that informs who the Iron Star are and who the other factions are, is that humans went through a gate and popped out in a new galaxy, and they met someone in that galaxy, and there's some hinting on this in the narrative, because Warcaster.com has a little bit of setting, a little bit of factions, and a little bit of gameplay right now.
Yeah.
So they met somebody, and they didn't agree with those people 100%, and this galaxy was already interconnected by similar gates.
Okay.
Oh.
But all the planets that were connected by those gates were empty. No sentient life was on those planets.
Yeah.
So
there was flora and fauna.
That's
just no
suspicious.
No humans gone through those gates.
So the humans started populating that galaxy through those gates.
As humans tend to.
And the gates are not 100% controllable. They're kind of automated. And some of the gates open to another place every day at noon or whatever. Some of the gates rotate between 3 or 4 different other gates, and they're on a cycle like every couple of weeks or maybe once a year this gate will open to this other planet. So the Iron Star Alliance is the kind of core worlds, the convenient worlds, the easy worlds to live on. And they're also the most connected because like they're near the gates that are always, like this is a predictable gate. I know that my commerce shipment will make it to this other market every day because of that kind of
So
stuff.
you're telling me the Iron Star Alliance makes sure their gates run on time?
Kind of, yeah.
Because there's no space travel. They have not figured out how to do void travel, and the only way to get from planet A to planet B is through a gate.
Yeah. Now there are sky ships that look a little bit like a spaceship, but they don't really
can't go
fly
interstellar.
between planets and stuff.
So opposing them, the second faction is the Marcher Worlds, which I know we got some cool art to show of them.
Yeah.
The Marcher Worlds are the people that said, I don't want to live this way. I don't want to join that. If I want to go out on a Wednesday and go to the dance, I'm going to go to the dance, and you can't tell me I'm not gonna.
I'm sorry, Wednesday's not dance day?
Yeah, and if the Iron Star might be like, Wednesday's not dance day, and they're like, well, nope. So they went to the outer fringes of the world that are not as easy to get to, and their gates are not as regular, but they live the life they want to live, and they've created an alliance of like actual pure like democracy, and we're all going to work together, but they're more scavengers because they don't have all the cool resources the Iron Star Alliance has. And they're obviously fighting because they're out in some of the more unexplored worlds, there's more of the Arcanescence out there, so when the Iron Star needs to expand, it's the first place they go to.
And you also notice from looking at them that they're a little bit more ragtag. So the Iron Star, the Paladins and stuff are very sleek. They have like form-fitting power armor that covers their entire bodies. These models in the Marcher worlds tend to wear hoods and cloaks and have raggedy shoulder, just
They still have good tech,
a scarf.
but they also might wear a scarf.
Yeah.
And scarves might not be allowed in the Iron Star Alliance. We
I
don't
was
know.
going to say, like, the Iron Star scarves are forbidden.
Scarves are forbidden.
See, I'm really identifying with these Marcher Worlds people. It's like, you want to dance, you're going to dance. You're going to be fancy.
Garment rebels.
But don't you want to have that like sleek look though, Emma?
No,
Just
I
like,
want to wear...
Well, that's the community has been really like that. They're like, no, I want to do whatever I want. Some people are like, no, like they like the law enforcement look of Iron Star Alliance, like that sleek and like law and order. It's almost the old Team Cap versus Team Iron Man thing happening all over again between the two.
So in that starter box, you're going to get a Ranger Fire Team, which is your 3-model squad. Then you're going to get a Weaver, because in general, the Weavers are a core of the thing. They're not leaders, but they are how your attack cards get played. So if you don't have Weavers in play, then you're not going to have access to one of your kinds of cards. Then they have a Hunter, which is the sniper in that thing. So whereas the Iron Star have a Paladin commander that's going to give little buffs to your Paladin squad, these guys are much more self-sufficient, so they have a sniper in theirs. And then the Dusk Wolf, which is that model we showed, and in the picture you guys have, it's got a railgun and a battle rifle and then a Ripper chainsaw arm. So it's got a slightly different mix than the one we have here.
I like chainsaw arms.
Now, the third faction that we haven't, you can see it on the Kickstarter.
Before we get into that, I think there's one more picture that you wanted to show, and I think that's of the battlefield. As a whole,
there's a picture of a battlefield.
Thank you.
That is, that I believe, is a Dusk Wolf and a Firebrand facing off on top of some stairs.
Oh, nice.
Which is because this game does use 3D terrain.
Oh, wow.
This is a game about, like, when you make your train table, build any world you want. Go crazy. Build an ice world, build a fire world, build a city. Anything you want as a player, and the rules support it. So if you just want to play in, like, a giant indoor, like, jungle, go nuts. If you want to play a place that has, like, catwalks and, like, different buildings you can climb up and down and ladders, go nuts. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and we played our live stream game just before the Kickstarter launched on a table with a great big giant arc well refinery thing,
and like a crane
and staircases and bunkers and
you got
that
to
kind of
move all
stuff.
the things too.
Yeah, it was
like
really
models.
cool. I love games that promote that kind of creativity from the hobbyists that do the terrain making, because that's a part of our hobby. Like, most people look at models and the painters, that gets a lot of the attention, but the people that build the tables, and especially we see this in RPGs, people that build like really impressive D&D tables and stuff like that. That takes so much work and talent. So anything that can promote that is awesome.
Yep.
So you were talking about the third faction.
So we didn't bring pictures of the third faction, but they are available on Warcaster.com.
Yeah, they just went up recently on that.
Yeah.
So if you don't care about law and order or free will,
and you just want like edginess and corruption and chaos and evil,
not chaos. They are very orderly.
Yeah.
There's the Eternus Continuum, which are a hidden cult throughout the galaxy that use flesh crafting to keep themselves alive indefinitely.
So
everything you're saying sounds fantastic.
So they're
Please
your
tell me more.
dark cyberpunk faction.
Got it.
Yeah.
And not like I turn myself into a robot, like take RoboCop. Take my face and my brain and my spinal cord and put it into this thing that's got chainsaw arms, and let's just go convert people.
So
Sounds good to me. So that definitely.
So it's Borgish, you would.
So
not
I
really.
feel like we
'Cause
have
they're not a
Iron
hive
Star,
mind.
Marchers, and clearly Continuum.
Yeah.
They don't force you to join. They will proselytize until you do. But if someone dies, they will take what's left of you and be like, that thumb looks great.
I mean, like otherwise it would just go to waste. It would be cruel to leave this body here and not give it a chance at immortality.
So they are all about immortality, and if the connections between the War Machine, Iron Kingdom's universe, and this universe are connected, and the entire galaxy is called the Cirrus Galaxy, which is a cult of mathematicians who take their souls out, put them in batteries, and plug them into robots in the Iron Kingdoms.
Cult of math.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a math cult because they think that math is how the universe works, and understanding math is understanding the universe, and they worship a goddess who controls.
When being a mathlete is
stuff.
not enough, and you're like, I need to take a next step.
I'm
I'm going to worship it.
So humanity is living in an entire galaxy named after this goddess of math, basically. So these people are kind of rebelling against that concept of the perfect expression of yourself is to take your soul out and plug it into a robot that's perfectly built. So they're replacing an arm when they lose it with a robot arm, or replacing most of their body. So the concept art and stuff is available in various places. And then the core box art is a weaver, and she has a bit of a nose and a chin and a mouth you can see, but large parts of her body are completely replaced. She has a 3-fingered claw hand and that kind of stuff.
I am a big fan of cyberpunk, weird cults, and the merging of flesh and technology. So
these are a secretive cult of people who want to become immortal.
I mean, basically, all you need to do at this point is tell me they're also vampires, and I'm pretty much all in.
Well, so we have there's a stretch goal I keep wanting to talk about, but I don't think we've got there yet.
There's more. We've hit a lot of stretch goals, and there's more coming.
There's more stretch goals.
See, Derek, you have to back it.
You
so
have
you
to
find
back
out
it.
what
You guys also have to back it. So, you can
So we
get more.
have showed off in one of the stretch goals, because this has been another question. There's a bounty hunter, Wojtek Sudal, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And it says in his thing that he will work for Marcher Worlds and Coalition Worlds. I mean, Coalition Worlds are Marcher Worlds. There's two words. So the Iron Star Alliance and the Marcher Worlds, he's a cross-faction model. So there are other cross-faction models coming in Kickstarter stretch goals and stuff who might have a darker bent to them, so that they work with maybe the Marchers and
to explain something real fast, he was talking about a character. So most of your soldiers in your army are just regular soldiers, and you replace them. There will be one-off named characters you can have in your army. There's a limit of them, and then when they die, they don't go back to the ship. That's an important person falls on the battlefield.
But they are also ramped up power-wise.
Yeah. So there are named characters in the game, but not a ton.
Yeah, and you can see some of them. The first 3 are on the Kickstarter page toward the bottom in the add-ons section. There's Artemis Fang, who is a Marcher Worlds model with magic guns. You might have heard of magic guns in some of our settings.
Yeah.
There's, I can't remember his first name off the top of my head, but Voss is the paladin guy. He's got 2 swords, and I believe he has 2 shoulder cannons, because, why limit yourself?
No.
And then
Guns everywhere.
a word I will never probably try to pronounce out loud, but the guy's second name is Raxus.
Yeah.
That is the Continuum model, and he's a weaver hero, and he's basically a floating sarcophagus.
For the continuum.
Because they just believe in maintaining their brains and functionality, and they don't mind full cyborg bodies.
You should go look
know,
at the continuum.
So yeah, he's a floating sarcophagus.
Well, so chat did have one question about, because you talked about how the Iron Star Alliance has a very form-fitting paramilitary paladin aesthetic, and the Marcher have a very scavenger, we love scarves aesthetic. How would you describe the Eternium Continuum aesthetic?
So their unit that comes in their box has trench coats, because
They've got trench coats and chainsaw batons.
yeah, because of course trench coats.
Very secret.
So they're your kind of dark cyberpunk faction, because in their starter you get a weaver who's heavily modified cyberpunk wise. You get their vassal reavers, which are the trenchcoat characters with the chainsaws. Then you get a Scourge Warjack, which is an asymmetrical Warjack. So unlike this guy, the Scourge has a giant crab claw arm that's a fixed hard point. You can't change it. So it's got 2 shoulder hard points and an arm hard point, but then it has this great big giant claw arm. And then it's got a Marauder, which is a person in a suit of armor that's more than likely about half or more cyborged out.
The way I would describe them, it would be cyber body horror.
Yeah.
Is what they are.
Oh, there you go.
Guess what I love?
Yeah, that's what they are, and they're like, they're not exactly symmetrical. It's just
Yeah,
like
they're not 100%.
it's just what did I need to replace that day?
Yeah.
Even when you look at a single squad, there'll be different sculpts, and one person might be mainly they're like alien human. They might be mainly human, and this other person you look and it's like, oh, clearly their arms and part of their face has been replaced.
And their first solo is the Grafter, which is their doctor.
Okay.
And the Grafter,
Grafter,
the
oh
Grafter's holding a circular saw thing in one hand.
yeah, for surgery.
And a big knife in the other hand,
That's
and then has
good.
2 more hands that are tiny robot arms, and one's holding a syringe gun and one's holding a scalpel, and then it has 2 like robot praying mantis arms off his
pretty
stomach.
cool.
So
See,
he's heavily modified himself
like
in
sleek.
various ways.
So if you like sleek, you want to go Iron Star, like sleek. And if you like scarves and just being more free and being like, you know what, I'm going to wear whatever I want.
Yeah.
Less
World.
And if you're gonna be
And
an
Derek,
edgelord, then-
clearly in Continuum.
Yeah.
Murder
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
So we have we should wrap up in a few minutes.
Okay, sure, yeah.
We've had a lot of fun talking about this, but just to
Yeah.
go through a couple kind of key notes that we wanted to hit.
Yeah.
It is worth noting that this campaign is pretty short. So
Yes.
it was only like 2 weeks. It's ending in what, 14 days now? 13 days now?
It's 14, I believe, today because I think
14
yesterday
days
it was
left.
15.
So people should hop on it quicker than they might if they were sitting on kind of a longer campaign.
Because we're
Yes.
delivering as early as July.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, this is not going to be a Kickstarter where you kickstart and you get your stuff next year. If you kickstart now, you will be getting it in months.
So are you
Yeah.
going to have a big presence at Gen Con for it then?
I would imagine so. Yeah, I would hope so.
I don't know
Yeah.
why I'm asking.
Unless something goes,
Derek, you know?
unless something goes terribly, terribly wrong. Yes, I should.
Yeah.
And then also to confirm, like this is a little bit more of a skirmishy game than a quote-unquote full army game.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you build a force, you pick 15 units, and a unit is a warjack or a solo or a squad.
Yeah.
And that's your reserves, but then you summon those things during the course of the game, and they get destroyed and they come back.
Okay.
So you're never playing with all 15 of those things.
Great.
And many of those 15 are one model.
But there's 2 main modes to play the game. Play on a 4x4 table with up to 15, or skirmish mode, which is up to 8 units on a 30x30 table.
Yeah.
It's not like one is better than the other. Both modes are equally viable to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then, we're also curious how accessible are the rules? Like,
Yeah.
are they? Because you mentioned that this is very different from War Machine.
Yeah.
Was this specifically designed to make a game that like newbies to miniatures could come in, or is this going to be something that people who are used to kind of the complication level, a lot of miniatures games are going to be more complicated?
So it has less crunch than the War Machine rules because for a few things, like we've taken out facing and we've taken out a few other aspects of that. And then army construction is way easier than a lot of other war
Certainly
games
sounds
because
like
you
it.
don't have to micromanage points and stuff. You like there's points builds for how you put the robots together.
Sure.
But that doesn't influence in any way how you field them.
Okay.
So you can build this guy in a certain configuration, but then he just counts as one unit when you're building your army. And you
Okay.
don't have to care about what weapons he has when you're calculating what your army is.
I would say it's average level crunchy.
Yeah.
War Machine is known for being very deep and
Yeah.
it has a lot of complexity to it. And then you've got very, very, very simple games. I would
Yeah.
say it's like right in the middle.
Middle. Yeah. Chat was explaining it's only 36 pages.
And I was about to say,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
War Machine rule book is like 96 pages, and this is only 36 pages. And if people want to go see the rules for themselves, again, go to warcaster.com, and you can download the currently being laid out rules and read for yourself.
Yeah.
And the public saw it yesterday,
Yeah,
and then
posted
people have been like,
yesterday.
wow, these rules, like I
Yeah.
get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've also streamlined lots of other things, like squad movement in this is very modern. You pick one of the 3 models, you move it, and then the other 2 models just have to be placed within 2 inches of it.
Yeah, you don't
and
measure out every
you're
single
not
thing.
you're not even picking the leader model in the squad to move. You're just picking one of the models in the squad because the squad's
That'll
going to
certainly
move
speed things up.
in a clump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like 20 years of making war games kind of
Yeah.
like boiled down into, okay, what is it that we want to
Yeah.
see happen, and what makes a fast game in a modern 2020
Yeah.
war game?
Yeah.
So I think the other question that chat had doesn't technically relate to this, so you may not be able to answer, but they did ask, So with 20th anniversary apparently coming up.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Congrats.
But then the Lock and Load coming this summer.
Yep.
Chat was curious if you are able to talk about anything that might be released during that window, or is that still far off?
So that's June, and we generally don't try to promise releases
Okay.
because timelines can change. Because coronavirus can delay everything in China.
Yeah.
Because that kind of stuff. So we solicit 3 months out, and we preview longer out, but we don't promise release dates for anything we haven't solicited.
But
And then every once in a while, solicitations have to be adjusted.
there's a couple things. So there's a ton more Monster Apocalypse coming out.
Yeah.
There's a ton more Riot Quest coming out all the way through. I've planned out through.
And
like
those Riot Quest
2021.
models are real, like,
They're
like they're just so vibrant.
Yeah.
The characters are
Yeah.
really strong.
And I recently posted the War Machine and Hordes roadmap through 2020 that talked about all the new releases for
Yeah.
War Machine and Hordes through the end of the year.
Hope maybe somebody in chat can find that and post it in and
Yeah.
share with everybody.
Yes.
But as for what specific models will be out in June, we just don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
We don't want to upset anybody by saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, this," and then it doesn't.
Like we are launching another Monster Apocalypse faction that is Space Dragons
Okay.
this summer, and more than likely some of those models will be at Lock and Load,
Okay.
but we're not making any kind of
And then
promises.
co-op
Great.
mode is coming to Riot Quest in June as well. So
Oh, nice.
What?
Yeah.
It's I love designing co-op stuff because I'm a big dungeon crawl fan,
Yeah.
and so and then doing it 1 to 4 players because I know solo play is a thing,
Yeah.
and it's fun trying to create the difficulty swing from 3 people are playing it or like 1 person is playing this by themselves. So that's coming too.
Well, co-op mode, that would be something I could bring my wife into because she
Oh,
she
yeah.
loves modeling and painting.
Yeah.
Yep.
But she doesn't super like competitive games.
Oh,
so
yeah. So
I'd want to check that
the
out.
Riot Quest, they're called boss fights, and they are literal MMO style raids where you get a boss model that
Get
you
a
can
big
play in your
old
normal
chunk.
games, or you all play against the boss, and they have a deck and it says what they do, and you fight against them.
There you go. So yeah, that's a good, like as you said, alternate route for people who don't want to like fight each other.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
Well, thank you very much
Yes,
for coming out.
thank
We
you.
always
Thank
appreciate
you.
it when you
Yeah.
come visit, and you always bring something neat to share.
Yeah.
We'll
All
be back
excited
again.
stuff.
Thanks for having us.
Sweet.
Yeah, no. Oh, speaking of which, now that we've gotten down with all of the exciting news by, of course, Private Press, with all of their new games and such. And also, remember, 2 weeks or 14 days they have left. So if you want to go ahead and hop on that deal, go hop on it now. Yes, very short timeline.
Remember, support the continuum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Support.
No.
No.
Good. I'm glad you both agreed.
No.
Marcher.
Here's the important thing
Marcher
to remember.
Worlds.
Mother knows best.
When you're dying on the battlefield, you're gonna be welcome to the continuum anyway. So you might as well just start now.
No.
What's your policy on dancing?
It's fine.
Okay.
You can wear all the flesh.
Dancing.
You can wear all the flesh scarves you want.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Unordered your chaos. But yes. Oh, speaking of which, it's that time again where we're gonna do Bundle Boss with me. I'm not the boss. I'm the
Bundle
secretary.
understudy.
Understudy. I'm the understudy of the Bundle Boss.
Vice boss.
Vice boss.
No, I'm the understudy.
Go ahead.
Yay, unpaid intern. Hello, I'm Bonsai, the unpaid intern.
What?
No, I'm joking. You know how they do that. But yes, for this bundle today, the Bundle of Holding is doing if you're familiar with the comics, the OG before webcomics was a thing, Knights of the Dinner Table was like the first kind of like, hey, we're going to go ahead and make a comic book about the problems that you have when you're gaming with your friends, and it's going to be hilarious. So if you go ahead and want to go ahead and like get a collection of these comic books.
It's a whole bunch of comics.
It's a whole bunch of comics, and like I think the first tier is like $9.95. You get the first 5 compilations, so issues 1 through 15, and then the second one is the tier up is $25, which is the bundle with 6 to 10 volumes in it. So there's just a lot for volumes number 16 through 30. So there's just a lot. If you are a fan of the Knights of the Dinner Table, or you just have a gaming group and you want to laugh at something that is just maybe too real, but also really great humor at the same time, go ahead and check out this Bundle of Holding. The charity that they're going to be benefiting today is the Ocean Conservatory. So, hey, you know what is important? Water.
Water is
Oceans.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know that, but like if you don't have water for like 3 days, you're not gonna live.
Is that the scientific?
I think so. 3 days.
Something like that.
3. 3
I didn't know that was
days.
happening. I love Night at the Dinner Table.
Yeah.
I've been reading that forever.
Well, like that's part of why we try to cover a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that, like, we just want to make sure that people are aware of the stuff out there, because chances are you've read a bunch of it, you love it, and you may not have heard about bundle folding.
Or if you ever played Hackmaster, if anybody out there ever played
But yeah.
Hackmaster that didn't know this existed, like this is where you go see the origins of it.
But yeah, all of these are like, I think issues 1 through 68 are all on different tiers. So if you guys want to go ahead and get your hands on that, you can go ahead and check that out. And now we are done with the bundles. It is time for the Kickstarter Queen.
Blessings be upon all of you.
Thank you.
However, blessings not be upon one of our cameras. So we're going to reorder Kickstarters just a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off the Kickstarters while they try to fix some stuff.
Okay. All right.
So
yeah.
we're going to jump a little bit out to Slipstrike.
Okay.
So Slipstrike has 5 days left. You should be happy. There's a version you can buy that's orange.
Oh.
Great. Now that you're in, to explain the game to everybody else, you're basically playing two like time travel-y, dimension hoppingly agents who jump around, try to kill each other, and then you just
As one does.
You play time slip,
Yeah.
and then you hop back. And apparently there's a limited number of those in the game. So as the game goes on, it kind of gets a little more and more likely that you will run out of the resource to be able to kind of exit and jump away. And eventually you'll finally get it. But it looks neat. Like it's so you kind of like make this little circle of cards. And the cards have a little bevel on the top, and you put them together. I think like 5 or 6 or something like that. And you kind of play on that board. There's a blue version and an orange version. You can combine the two together to do like a 2x2 team game.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's an orange version, so I figured you'd be in.
Yay, I like orange.
So that, yes, you do.
This is one that we looked at. I don't know, sometimes I judge these by their names. I admit to it. I don't know what that is. We looked at the picture. The pictures are very evocative. The layout is very different than other things that I've seen. Gameplay, the graphic design of it is amazing. So I do recommend that you check this one out.
So another Kickstarter with 6 days left is Lost Ship, a survival game. And this struck me because it's very much like playing through Battlestar Galactica's kind of thing of you have this ship, or maybe a couple ships, and you have a very limited number of people that you're trying to keep alive, and they're slowly dwindling over time as you try to manage your resources and pull that off. So I think you start off with like 40,000 colonies or colonists trying to find some place to go live. And I know a lot of people who really love that kind of aspect of Battlestar.
Yeah.
So I figured they would want to hear about this one.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I hope it's not gonna like be like, you know how eventually Battlestar started like, oh yeah, we just have all the rockets. Don't count all the rockets. Infinity.
Infinity Rockets?
Infinity rockets.
Somebody's just have infinity rockets.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that is 6 days left.
Yes.
And that's Lost Ship, a survival game.
Okay.
And it sounds like they got the camera fixed. So why don't we go back to a game that I knew one of the two of you would like.
Yes.
Saucy Grannies.
Saucy grannies. Double entendre. Wink.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. So this is a really cool looking game. It's kind of what you would think from the name of it. Speaking about titles, this is a title that says what's in the box. So it's about grannies doing cook-offs, and of course, for cooking traditions, for familial traditions, you should probably know that the sauces, like the bases for things, is something that's really passed down from generation to generation. The little tricks and secrets to making those secret sauces. So it's about cooking. Sugar. Secret ingredients.
Sorry.
It's about cooking. It's about family traditions. It's about, getting recipes from your neighbors, scoring points. The theme of it is great. The art of it is great.
It's very cute. It's very cute.
Yeah, I just love when Kickstarters dig in and I see a game like this it just feels so fresh and different thematically and fun-looking gameplay as well. So Saucy Grannies, that has 5 days left, and you should look at it, play as a granny, and cook up some delicious sauces.
Okay. Oh, with 5 days left. We got Dragon Stew, a 5th edition supplement. So
Cooking supplement.
It's a cooking supplement.
So cooking Granny's the board game, Cooking Granny's the adventuring RPG.
Yes, Cooking Granny's the it's merged.
Wait, this
now.
is Dragon Stew. Is it stew for dragons? Are there grannies in the stew?
Who knows?
Who knows? That's all the things.
I think it depends on who the chef is.
It does have for this. If you wanted to go ahead, if you ever watched the anime Toriko and you ever wanted to play that in a fantasy realm in D&D, this is the game for you. Basically, what it does is that it gives you like food themed companions, food themed villains, food theme like areas that you can explore, and also food theme classes. Like for example, they had the baker.
Do they have a cook and a candlestick maker?
No. Well, they do have a cook.
Food.
But yeah, you can also do you can also go and do bard classes as well from the College of Hosting, because you are a bard and you have to bring people into your restaurants. And then also some of the dessert familiars is crab assant. They're crabs that
Sure,
are...
yeah. Yep.
They're desserts, but also familiars who are your
Yes,
best friends.
who are your best friends, right?
Eclairettes.
So you're gonna eat your best friends?
No, you don't eat
you
them.
don't
They
eat
just
them.
look
Then why
like
are
a
they
dessert.
food?
They look
Well,
like
because
food.
they
Look,
look
the
like
anatomy
food.
is confusing. Okay,
Okay.
they're adorable and you don't eat them. That's
Sure,
all you
yeah.
need to know.
Just
Yeah.
let me have my food Candyland
Wow.
D&D campaign, okay?
Wow, okay,
All
fine,
right,
yep.
Yeah.
Have
So-
you watched Wreck-It Ralph? They're food.
I'm
kind
gonna
of.
wreck it.
Yeah.
Wreck-It,
You don't
the
eat them.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically this also comes with a bunch of extra rules. So you can expand it into your regular like monsters in D&D. They give you ways to foodify them.
Yeah, one of the players in my regular campaign, almost every one of their characters ends up retiring to open a pie shop or a bread shop or something like that. So I feel that this would be right up their alley.
But yes.
Sounds amazing.
So if you guys just check it out, it has a lot of cute artwork, a lot of detail, a lot
Very
of subclasses.
wholesome.
It's very wholesome. And also you can just murder all the pancake people.
Oh, man,
Never
I'm
mind what
hungry
I
now.
said about it being wholesome.
So
What? It's
hungry.
fine.
I want to eat a pancake.
Oh, pancakes are good. Waffles are the best though.
So you want to eat a pancake, but not your familiar.
No.
What if your
No.
familiar's a pancake?
It just
And
doesn't
you're
have
like,
a face.
And
Okay.
you're like, I want to eat a pancake, and then the familiar just
There's a
looks
difference
at you and
between
doesn't know if it
Goofy
can
and
trust you.
Pluto, okay? Just saying.
Derek, does it have a face and is the face smiling at you and animated?
While you're eating it?
Yeah.
'Cause
No,
that's
then you
weird.
don't eat it.
Real
You don't
weird.
eat it.
Real
If
weird.
the food does not have sentience, then I will go ahead and eat it.
Okay. Well, in other news,
Yes.
with 6 days left, we have our KBG of the week.
Yes.
Kickstarter board game is Batman the
board game.
Animated Series Adventure Miniatures Game thing.
Many
Yes.
minis.
Many minis,
Yes.
many like little maps.
So I hear lots of you like Batman the Animated Series.
Yes.
And you like games. And you like miniatures. That's what
Why
you got.
not one of each?
Why not the best?
Why not way more than one of each?
One of each? Two,
Well, but
three,
this
10
is-
of each.
Specifically towards like a certain Batman style, art style,
Yeah.
right?
Well, the animated series, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the miniatures are designed to look like they're from the animated series, which strikes me as a very interesting painting challenge because they certainly don't have the same level of detail as like a realistic figure or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'd be really keen to see how people would paint these. But again, if you like miniatures, if you
Cartoon
like
style.
Batman animated series, check it out.
All right. This is the game that we all have been waiting for, let me tell you. No, maybe not. But 6 days left. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
No.
Yeah, it's a medical.
I'm not gonna trust
it's a
you.
medical malpractice, but not malpractice.
I trust Bonsai. She knows how to use tools.
I'm a doctor.
No, she knows how to make. She
Chainsaw.
knows how to make tools into weapons. We've established this with every game we've talked about.
But so basically, what it is a card like a party game, similar to gosh darn, now I'm
Cards Against Humanity.
Cards Against Humanity.
Apples to apples, I
Apples
guess.
to apples kind of games. But you role play or like you play as doctors from the 1800s.
Oh, jeez.
And you have one person is your patient, and they give you symptoms, like basically, hey, I have these symptoms, cure me. And so with yours, you're supposed to come up with the best thing to cure all the ailments that patient has. So, for example...
But with ridiculous 1800s understanding of medicine.
With ridiculous 1800s, so...
Like hacksaw puppy.
Sure.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just... But the thing I kind of like that I will note about this game is that unlike Cards Against Humanities, like their thing is just like, it's something in the 1800s, you got weird remedies. It's not really like... Let's go ahead and make this a card for shock value, for like, involving like...
Yeah, the humor is not particularly edgy.
Yeah, it's not edgy humor, but...
Other than like, the amount of cocaine you might prescribe for some of these illnesses.
Like, oh, you are weak here, have all this cocaine.
Yeah. Have this opium. I think it was opium back then, right?
Opium will help.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
And then, of
Mix
course,
them together.
like one of the examples was like somebody has a headache, and one of the cures you can suggest is lobotomy. Yeah,
So a little body creepiness, ickiness to it.
Yeah.
But
Also, not to be taken as any sort of serious medical advice,
Oh yeah. Do not take this is
especially in our current climate.
in our yes, please don't. Please.
Tito's Vodka would like everyone to know that it is only 40% vodka. The CDC says that it needs to be 60% vodka to be effective, so please stop telling Tito's that you can make hand sanitizer out of their vodka.
Wow, really?
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
we just-
Everclear though. Everclear is great.
No, just buy actual hand sanitizer.
No, it's all been
It's all
purchased.
sold
It's
out.
gone.
Well, wash your hands.
Until I think there was one Costco that said they were sold out of toilet paper and hand sanitizer until the year 2320.
Oh no, 25020.
Yes, there you go.
25,020.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for the next 23,000 years, they're sold out of hand sanitizer.
Just wash your hands, guys. They're soap.
Yeah, washing your hands is much
All right.
better.
They're soap. All right.
So we have finally, those are our general Kickstarters for the
Yes.
week, but we have what I suspect may be the last chunk of Zine Quest.
Yeah.
Because if everybody remembers, Zine Quest are these RPG-related, two-color printing, like a non-perfect bound, kind of stapled or saddle-stitched, small format, very weird, eccentric, hyper-focused kind of products. They were only supposed to run for 2 weeks in February. So I think we're beginning to get to the stage where all of those have run their course.
Yep.
So we will no longer probably be spending our time sharing these very odd little gems with you. You'll have to search for them yourselves.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I'm already looking forward to next year.
Yeah. And hopefully it just enters the public knowledge. Like
I
the
kind of want to start
zeitgeist.
making one every year. We'll see.
I know.
Yeah,
I want to
let's
make
do it.
one too.
So, the Zine Quest that we have are... Emma, you going to start us off?
The insectiary, or the insectiary? Probably insectiary. It's bugs. It's cool.
Bugs.
Just pictures of weird-looking bugs, and they have some stats and stuff. System agnostic, weird insects for your favorite tabletop role-playing game. Mostly, I just love the pictures in there. And if you're really into insects and you thought, hey, I would like to put some insects in my campaigns, or you never really thought about it, you can do that. And have that, and this is the thing for you to do that.
You want weird bugs? It's got weird bugs.
Yeah,
It's got weird
bugs.
Everyone's like that. And they usually just taste like shrimp or crab.
Yeah,
Just throwing that out
like
there.
land shrimp.
I wonder
the
if this.
crickets.
I wonder if this zine notes what each bug tastes like.
I'm just saying.
Shrimp, also shrimp.
So the next one, and that is 2 days left.
Yeah,
Yes.
2 days
The
left.
next one we have with 5 days left is Agile, Anxious, Attached. And this is a really kind of interesting project where it's a collection of a couple short games that's about the author's life phases. So this is one of those things where I talk about it's a very, very focused idiosyncratic game.
Yeah,
Okay.
personal,
So,
very personal.
Yeah, so there's one that's about their time during software development.
Okay.
There's one that's during their time with depression. There's one that's during their time trying to form relationships. So, imagine an autobiographical, hyper-personal mini game. Effectively, is a way for the author presumably worked through some of their feelings for this, and then kind of wanted to just let other people explore some of that work.
Oh.
So, it's a very specific thing,
Yeah.
but I love seeing these things pop up, and that has 5 days left.
All right. With 4 days left, hey, did you guys want pets in your
Apparently,
role-playing
you want
games?
pets made of food.
Well, yes, emergencies happen.
Wow.
Just saying.
Well,
She said this one. I didn't even have to go there.
It's like Pokemon. They just look like food. They're not actual food.
But they do eat the Pokemon.
What?
Yeah. Have you not seen Magikarp on a plate? In the anime series?
Do they eat it though, or is it just on the plate? Do they slice it into chunks and eat its flip-flopping face?
Why would it be on the plate other than to be eaten?
I'm just saying. And then it flops off, right?
Anyway,
That's how it works.
Anyways, but yes, this is a Zeve. So they're not animal companions. They're not creatures that fight. They're literally just pets that you own in D&D. This is the game for you to get. So it just provides, like, for example, you can have a very cute walking mushroom that glows.
Yeah.
And so you do get some benefits from having these pets.
Also, they don't fight, so that means they're indestructible, right?
Yeah, they're indestructible because they don't have any stats for fighting.
Well, this is a very important part because we couldn't bring Jeff Magdalene with us on our adventures because we were worried something was going to happen to her in combat. So
You realize there are ways to die outside of combat. Like, see our previous comment about how many days you can survive without water.
No, she is with a wizard who is taking very good care of her. We didn't just abandon her in the woods, but if she was one of these pets, indestructible, you can just bring her around. She'll just, it's like in World of Warcraft where you have your pet falling. They never die. They can't die. Just a little crab sitting next to you in combat, just doing a little crab dance.
Wow. Well, I knew what I was getting into when I recommended this Kickstarter to both of you, and it has fulfilled my wildest dreams.
All pets live. Awesome.
All right, Emma, what do we have next?
All right, next up is Affliction, Coping with the Apocalypse RPG zine with 3 days left. I'm not a huge zombie person. I think there's a lot of zombie stuff out there. It's gooey and creepy, and yeah, generally don't like it. What I like about this one in particular is it's about coping with the apocalypse, specifically about going through the phases of loss. So denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. And they made a really good point in this RPG zine that, hey, you're in the zombie apocalypse. This is actually very appropriate to what's happening right now.
Yeah.
You know, you think if some pandemic happens or there's an apocalypse, you have like, oh, I've got water and I know how to shoot a gun. Everything will be fine. You don't take into account the emotional impact and the confusion, the complexity, the things that you're gonna have to deal with, and there's a lot that goes into it. A lot of survival movies, you know, just kind of like...
The core point of all the zombie movies, like every zombie movie, or every good zombie movie, ends up with, humans were the real monster.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that what zombies were originally concepted as?
Basically.
Yeah.
I think a lot of more hack and slash movies are just like, oh, we're just gonna pull up our bootstraps and go and fight them. There's no lasting consequences. So I like digging into this aspect of real emotions in games. Affliction, Coping with the Apocalypse, 3 days left.
Yes.
Great. With 5 days left, we have Bunker. And this is an OSR, Old School Revolution, kind of like D&D, like taking D&D back to its roots, emotionally or mechanically kind of thing. And this is just a zine, and it's a setting of like after an apocalyptic kind of situation, as a parable for climate change and disaster and stuff like that, using some very weird like metal monsters to kind of get that message across. And I love it because the art is really stark.
Yes.
And I love any fantasy RPG that is going to do more than kind of like exist in the Tolkien shadow. Anything that like tries to use the fantasy setting as a metaphor for real world problems, I find really intriguing.
Okay. Very cool.
So that has 5 days left. Bunker, very, very cool art and a very cool theme.
Okay. Oh, with 7 days left, did you ever want to go ahead and try to beat society while there's cultists going on? Seance and Sensibility is based off of like an RPG that is based off of the Jane Austen.
So it's a pun.
Yes.
In case anyone missed that. Seance and sensibility, like sense and sensibility, but it's a seance. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
But yes, it is Jane Austen theme. And so there is a huge shindig going on, and you, as a person, must thwart the cultists. Is that the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. Thwart?
Thwart the cultists, but also maintaining grace and your social standing. So you can't just go run out in the middle of this party and say, "Partius, stop." there's cultists here that are trying to kill you because, one, you would insult your host.
Yeah.
And two, your standing in society will go very down.
And you wouldn't get married.
No, you wouldn't get married. No one
Worst of all worlds.
Yep.
You'd be an old maid.
You'd be
spinster.
an old maid because...
Probably old dudes, too.
Old dudes. Yeah.
Yes, also.
Yeah, they're probably fine.
Yeah.
They got money.
But yes, but so you must take your fan and tell people with rumors and expectations that, did you know that Coloroid is killing people in the darkness of night? Oh my goodness.
Murder.
But yes, it has 7 days left if you guys haven't.
The two of you have the worst case of the vapors, I think, that the world has seen in 100 years.
But yes, 7 days left, Seance and Sensibility.
All right, up next is Last Flight of the Pandora, a chaotic space RPG. Fast-paced, ridiculous, chaotic. It's basically just the most craziest Star Trek episode dialed up to 11, where it's like, hey, and then now we have aliens coming in, the ship's falling apart, and there's a supernova and a black hole, and we have to deal with it and figure out how to make not too many red shirt people die. Yeah, and it's apparently ready to play right out of the box. It's not in a box, it's a book, so it's kind of a euphemism there, but it's meant to be just grab and go, a lot of pre-made content. So it's a game that's very easy to get into. So you just like sit down with your friends, like, let's have a space adventure, and have your characters and just dive right into being space people, which I love and I think is very exciting. So you're an officer. Oh, and each character plays an officer, and they have their own mechanics and dice. So that sounds cool too. 3 days left. Last Flight of the Pandora.
Yeah.
So with 6 days left, I have Dreamhaven, which the other Kickstarter zine that I want to go over is very similar. This is a mini setting for again, like OSR kind of game or an old school D&D kind of game.
Yeah.
Just like I am a sucker for slightly weird little towns or planes or locations or cities that you can put somewhere with like a collection of weird NPCs or something more than just typical fantasy.
Okay.
And Dreamhaven provides an odd, like a somewhat surreal, like dream-connected kind of city for your players to explore. So if you want a setting to drop in or an odd place for them to visit that's a little bit different, then you should check that out.
Yeah, I really like that. Just in your D&D campaign or whatever, you're like, oh, we're doing normal stuff, and you come upon this thing, and it shapes the story. Sounds cool.
So that is 6 days left.
6 days.
Right, next up, Numinous, a rip pages out of your dictionary RPG. That is not a euphemism.
I knew someone was going to like that.
You rip pages out of books? No?
Yeah, rip pages out of books.
Yeah.
Get mad, internet. We are tearing it up.
Yep.
Dictionary, specifically, font of knowledge. Tear it up into little pieces
I love how
as a mechanic.
Yeah, it was describing that you rip pages out of the dictionary and you rip the paper apart until you're left with fewer and fewer words.
I don't like that.
This is going to be a very divisive game, role-playing game. For me specifically, growing up loving books and holding on to books, once upon a time, this would have really stressed me out. But since having done the KonMari system, learning how to let go of things, seeing things as functional and useful in your life, like I don't use a physical dictionary anymore. So, like, when am I going to go through it?
The only way I can tolerate this is as a dictionary. Like if this was a non-dictionary book.
A fiction book?
But
that's fair. Maybe it being a dictionary feels a little bit better. And I haven't looked too deeply into this. You might also just be able to print out a page with words on it if that super helps. But you can get dictionaries for like $5 or something on sale at Barnes & Noble. So just get it and play a fun game. Yeah. You know, a legacy game. It seems like a very unique take.
Well, it also seemed like that concept of you're ripping the words out until you're left with fewer and fewer words. Just that pitch really hooked me.
Yeah.
So that's just a neat idea to experience as a game at least once.
Yeah, and the words as being magic, which is a very evocative concept, is cool. So, Numinous, rip pages out of the dictionary, 5 days left.
Great. So the last one we have is Rex's Drift.
Yes.
And this is again another one of those OSR settings. This one is more like, imagine a floating city where all these boats have kind of become lashed together, and
it's Waterworld.
Sure, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, it's fantasy Waterworld.
I'm in.
Waterworld.
Yep. Well, there you go. Fantasy Waterworld. Yeah, and just like a collection of weird little things to tuck in this city and have your players encounter.
Yeah.
And I'm always kind of a sucker for that.
Nice.
Are you going to read this sentence, the last one?
Would you like to read the sentence?
Yeah, okay. System agnostic, a hand-bound RPG, beautifully illustrated. It contains everything you need to dive into this unique city. Dive.
Get it. I
It's
get
water.
it. It's water.
Okay, I'm done.
You want to do that again? You sure? No,
Dun,
go back
dun.
and revisit it? Okay, great.
Okay.
But yes, friends, guess what's happening right now? It is time for us to go, but only us, just for now, because there's still more that we still have here at Gen Con. So stick around for, of course, new release rundown with Will is in the back. Will, wait, your last name. I didn't realize that was your last name. Yes, Geisler. Will Geisler. So the behind the crew stage now actually exists again because we choose when they exist or not.
Yeah, we bring them
So,
into
existence.
consciousness.
So it'll be fun. So we're going to be borrowing some games from Mock's Boarding House, but there is no store that is coming this week. We're just going to geek about games. And thank you to Mox for letting us borrow your games. Don't forget, at 6 p.m. tonight, there is going to be game night. Ooh, like that. Today, we are going to be playing Fiasco. With, of course, well, no, you're not our GM, but Peter Atkinson is going to be our GM for today. And guess what? It's going to be ladies' night because Emma, me, and Anna Geeks is going to be hanging out. But also Peter, but he does, we will give him a ladies' pass. Ladies' pass.
Because we have that.
That's
a thing we can do
that.
as women.
But
Huh.
yeah.
That explains a lot.
We give you the ladies' pass. Anywho, streaming, don't forget, we don't just do Friday shows here at Gen Con. We actually do a very regular schedule. So every Monday at 6 p.m., you can play board games with the Brothers Murph. They go ahead and demo board games, and you can play along with them. On Wednesdays at 9 a.m., you can go minis with the Murphs, where basically the Brothers Murphs, they paint minis and teach you all the various different painting techniques.
Yep, one of them has been painting for a while, one's
Yes.
new, so they're teaching each other, basically.
Yeah, they're teaching, they're fusing together. And then, of course, at 4 p.m., we have Fireside with Emma and Peter, and no, you're not Peter. Sorry, I keep, sorry, this is Derek.
Hi, everybody.
I'm just the imaginary Peter that is here in this voice.
Standing right behind you, Derek.
Right between the two of us.
He's invisible.
But yes, they go ahead and talk right now. You guys are talking about the behind the scenes in D&D.
Yep.
Third edition.
Third edition.
Third edition, yeah.
So if you guys just want to go ahead and hear more about the behind the scenes of either that D&D or Magic, just go ahead and stick around at 4 p.m. And then at 6:30 we have the Westgate Regulars, which is a bunch of authors that are role playing because we make them.
You have a very interesting way of characterizing our relationships with people.
Good.
We're forcing these authors to role play. You're an unpaid intern.
No, it's just,
Wow, there's
there's just no.
Okay.
Expanded upon
We're
some
expanding-
details.
Sure.
We're creating the lore.
Yeah.
Of Gen Con. The
Yup.
lore.
Sure.
Yep. And then, of course, Friday at 11 a.m., we got TableTakes with us, of course, Derek, Emma, myself, and Christian, who will be back. Hopefully you feel better. And then 12:30, new release rundown, and 6 p.m., of course, game nights. And don't forget, Gen Con badges are on sale, so go ahead and get those. Get your reserve your places, all that kind of good stuff. And then don't forget, you can hit that little follow, like, subscribe button, all the kind of stuff. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss any episodes. And also, don't forget, there's podcasts. There's all the podcasts on
Fireside is released as a podcast, so this week's episode of Fireside is out now as a podcast. So Friday is when that week's episode comes out, and then Monday is when old episodes of Magic are released.
Yes. But if you miss our streams here live on Twitch, don't forget, we're on YouTube. We got all the social medias. You should just follow us on all those things. But thank you for all of you guys who've come over. Thank you as well to Privateer Press for showing us their awesome game. And thank you as well to Caldadia Studios for letting us borrow this amazing set. And this has been myself, Bonsai, Emma, and Derek. You guys have a lovely day. See you in a few minutes.